The air in Blackwood Academy always carried a certain chill, even in late September. It wasn't just the ancient stone walls or the drafts whistling through grand Gothic windows. It was something deeper, a whisper of untold stories. And among those whispers, one name echoed more frequently, more ominously than any other: Room 2B. Mr. Finch, the school's long-serving janitor, a man whose face was a map of gentle wrinkles and quiet wisdom, had a particular ritual for new students. As he guided them through the labyrinthine corridors on their first tour, his voice, usually a soft rumble, would drop to a low, serious tone when they passed a certain unmarked door. Ethan, a first year with an humorous spirit and a healthy skepticism for old tales, remembered that tour vividly. Mr. Finch had paused, his eyes fixed on the plain wooden door, almost as if he expected it to open on its own. "Now listen closely, lad," he'd said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of all the rooms in this grand old building, there's one you must never, ever enter. Room 2B. You hear me? Never." There was a quiet intensity in his gaze that made even Ethan, usually so quick with a jest, momentarily fall silent. The warning wasn't a one-off. Throughout the first few weeks, it became clear that Mr. Finch's concern for Room 2B was almost an obsession. If he saw students even glancing at the door, he'd materialize as if from the shadows, his expression a mix of plea and quiet command. "It's not just a rule, children," he'd murmur, wiping a non-existent speck of dust from the banister. "It's for your own good. Some places are best left undisturbed." For most students, this constant caution simply solidified Room 2B as a place to avoid, a creepy, forbidden spot that added to the school's mystique. But for Ethan, it did the opposite. The more Mr. Finch warned, the more a persistent, unyielding curiosity began to gnaw at him. What could be so terrible behind such an ordinary door? Was it just an old storage room, a forgotten classroom, or something genuinely sinister? The whispers about Room 2B persisted among the students. Tales of ghosts and curses floated around, but Ethan dismissed them as playground fodder. Yet the janitor's grave warnings, his genuine fear, were harder to shake. He began observing Mr. Finch, noticing the old man's precise movements, the way he'd sometimes test the handle of Room 2B, a key ring always jingling at his belt. One quiet afternoon, during an extracurricular club meeting, Ethan noticed something. Mr. Finch had left his master key ring, momentarily, on a supply card while he went to fetch a new broom. It was a fleeting opportunity, a lapse born of habit and trust. Ethan's heart pounded, a mix of thrill and trepidation. With a quick, furtive glance around, he snagged the ring, knowing he had to be quick. He found the key marked 2B, a heavy, ornate brass key that felt ancient in his palm. Later that night, long after the last lights had gone out in the dorms, Ethan slipped from his bed. The old school creaked and groaned around him, the sounds amplifying the silence. He made his way down the dimly lit corridor, his footsteps barely a whisper on the worn floorboards. He reached the door to Room 2B. The key slid into the lock with a soft, metallic click that echoed in the oppressive quiet. He turned it, the tumblers grating, and with a slow, deliberate push, the door swung inward, revealing only darkness. A musty, stagnant air, heavy with the scent of dust and something else, something undefinable, enveloped him. He fumbled for his small penlight, its beam cutting through the gloom. The room wasn't a storage closet, nor was it the derelict. It was a classroom. Desks, neatly aligned in rows, faced a blackboard still etched with faint, ghostly chalk equations. But what sat at each desk was not what he expected. Each seat was occupied by a skeleton, still clad in what looked like faded, old-fashioned Blackwood Academy uniforms. Rib cages pressed against the wood, bony fingers resting on phantom textbooks. Their empty eye sockets stared forward, frozen in a timeless lesson. The silence in the room was absolute, a profound quiet that seemed to absorb all sound, even the beating of his own heart. Ethan's breath hitched in his throat. His mind struggled to process the macabre tableau. He moved slowly, almost mechanically, his flashlight beam dancing across the spectral students. He saw a small metal nameplate on one of the desks, tilted slightly. He crouched down, his hand trembling as he wiped away a layer of dust. The name carved into the worn wood was clear, unmistakable, etched with chilling precision. Ethan Miller. His own name, on an empty desk, the one desk without a skeleton. The air in the room suddenly felt impossibly heavy, crushing. A cold dread, unlike anything he had ever known, seized him. This wasn't just a classroom, it was a waiting room, and the empty seat, the one with his name, felt less like a coincidence and more like an invitation. He didn't know how he got out. He didn't remember turning the key again or closing the door. All he knew was the desperate, pounding need to flee, to put as much distance as possible between that silent waiting room. He stumbled back to his dorm, his mind a chaotic whirl of terror and disbelief. He never spoke of what he saw. How could he? Who would believe him? From that night on, Blackwood Academy felt different. The old stone walls seemed to watch him. The creaks and groans of the building whispered his name. And every time he saw Mr. Finch, the janitor's gentle eyes seemed to hold a knowing sadness, a quiet understanding of the horrors that some curiosities can unveil. Ethan had always scoffed at ghost stories, but now he knew there were things far more terrifying than specters, the chilling certainty of a preordained destiny waiting patiently behind a locked door. This story of Ethan in room 2B is a haunting reminder that some warnings are not merely rules, but echoes of a truth too profound, too unsettling to be ignored. It speaks to the double-edged sword of curiosity and the price of venturing where we are told never to tread. The empty desk, waiting, always waiting, serves as a chilling testament to the unseen forces that might just know our names before we even know ourselves. What are your thoughts on this unsettling tale? Have you ever had an encounter with a forbidden place or felt drawn to a mystery that perhaps was best left alone? Share your reflections in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, consider subscribing or following for more tales that explore the quiet corners of our world and the mysteries that lurk within.